Meanwhile, Ifeng was lounging lazily, basking in the sun when several figures suddenly appeared in front of him. Startled, he bolted upright. "Who are you guys and what do you want?" It was Qin Haoyu and the other core disciples, who had hurried to meet him. Ifeng blinked, bewildered. "What do you all want?" One by one, the figures introduced themselves. Eldest brother Qin Haoyu, second sister Si Kantian, third brother Zhao Anming, fourth brother Xing Fei, and fifth sister Du Tanyu. Ifeng frowned in confusion. "Aren't I Luo Qinchua's personal disciple? Why am I suddenly the junior of the entire sect?" Qin Haoyu, looking amused, explained. It was Sect Master Luo Wuming's arrangement. Ifeng finally understood. The two roles weren't conflicting. He was both Luo Qinchua's chief disciple and the sixth core disciple of the Star Extreme sect. Ifeng's mind whirred with thoughts of how to impress his new senior brothers and sisters. Consulting the system, he asked, "It's my first time meeting them. Should I prepare some gifts? Considering their exceptional talents, wouldn't it be fitting to give them at least 100,000 high-quality spiritual stones each?" The system processed his idea for a moment and then confirmed that it was acceptable. Ifeng could barely contain his excitement. Meanwhile, the core disciples mistook his expression for awe at their unparalleled abilities. Fifth sister Du Tanyu, especially, was moved to tears. "Finally," she cried, "I'm not the youngest anymore. I finally have a junior I can bully." Ifeng, however, wasn't paying attention to her emotional outburst. Turning to the group, he announced, "Brothers and sisters, since it's our first time meeting, please accept a small token of my appreciation." With a flourish, he handed each of them a storage ring. The group was stunned. Qin Haoyu, the first to inspect his gift, opened the ring and froze. Inside were 100,000 high-quality spiritual stones. The others followed suit, each finding the same in their rings. They were utterly speechless. Convention dictated that senior disciples should give gifts to their juniors. But here was their junior brother handing out 100,000 high-quality spirit stones as if it were nothing. Their minds went back to Luo Wuming's words. This junior disciple is rich, incredibly rich. Ifeng, meanwhile, grinned smugly as his system notified him of the results. His lavish spending had earned him 200 wasteful points and 100 Enlightenment pills. Checking the information, he found that the Enlightenment pill was a rankless pill that granted 20 minutes of immediate enlightenment upon consumption. However, the system also noted that reward items like this couldn't be used to earn wasteful points. Ifeng was slightly disappointed. "So I can't use these pills to spend lavishly?" he muttered to himself. Still, he decided to share the pills with his senior brothers and sisters. Handing one to each of them, he explained the effects. "An Enlightenment pill?" one of them exclaimed in disbelief. "Does this really work as you say?" Ifeng nodded. "Just try it. You'll see." Although skeptical, the core disciples trusted their junior brother enough to consume the pills. Moments later, all 5 of them entered a state of enlightenment. At that moment, Luo Wuming walked in and was startled by the sight. Just as he opened his mouth to ask what was going on, Ifeng interrupted to explain the effects of the Enlightenment pills. Seeing his disciples cultivating in Ifeng's room, Luo Wuming felt a burning desire for the pills himself. Unable to hold back, he asked for some. Ifeng handed him 5 pills but added, "The rest are reserved for my pet dog." Hearing this, Luo Wuming nearly exploded. "You're giving such a precious pill to a dog? Have you lost your mind?" Ifeng shrugged helplessly. "They're valuable, sure, but they don't earn me points for wasteful spending, so they're useless to me." Determined to stop Ifeng from wasting the pills on his dog, Luo Wuming offered to buy the remaining pills, even suggesting a family discount. But Ifeng refused firmly. "I have to feed my dog, or I'll feel bad." Imagining his dog rejecting the pills outright made Ifeng chuckle internally. Seeing Ifeng's unwavering stance, Luo Wuming could only sigh in defeat. Finally, Luo Wuming informed Ifeng that the 5 great ancestral elders wanted to meet him and might even consider taking him as a disciple. "Make your decision carefully," he warned. Later, they arrived at the cave mansion in the back mountain, where Luo Wuming led Ifeng to pay his respects to the 5 great ancestral elders. The great ancestral elder Luo Chenqing was the first to speak. Facing a solo battle against 200 peers of the same realm, mastering 3 advanced Earth-level techniques, all while possessing a quad spirit root, such a prodigy should be cultivated with all our might. The other ancestral elders nodded in agreement as they surrounded Ifeng to examine him. Moments later, they confirmed that Ifeng was indeed at the peak of the Qi activation realm and had a spirit sea of astonishing magnitude. However, they were completely stupefied when they discovered that he had no spirit roots, not a single one. Yet somehow, Ifeng was capable of wielding 4 types of spiritual Qi as if he did. The ancestral elders were in disbelief. How is this possible? How can he manifest 4 elemental spiritual chis without any spirit roots? How did he form a spirit sea, let alone cultivate without them? Ifeng, unfazed by their shock, shrugged and casually replied, I don't know. Whenever I want to cultivate, the ambient spiritual chi just rushes into my body. Even though I lack spirit roots, I can somehow transform my spiritual chi into various elemental forces. To demonstrate, Ifeng gathered chi between his hands, letting it alternate between thunder, fire, water, wind, and other elemental forces. The display left the 5 great ancestral elders utterly dumbfounded. Such an occurrence was unheard of in their lifetimes, and it defied all logic. While the elders were frozen in shock, Ifeng, instead of being moved by their reactions, was preoccupied with his own thoughts. How should I spend lavishly this time? Considering their esteemed positions, he thought of gifting each elder 1 million high-quality spiritual stones. But when he consulted the system, it immediately dismissed the idea, deeming it insufficient to qualify as wasteful spending. Annoyed at being looked down upon by his system, Ifeng decided to up the ante. Fine. What about 1 million top-quality spiritual stones per elder? This time, the system approved, and Ifeng boldly made his move. Taking out 5 storage rings, Ifeng presented them to the elders. Esteemed ancestral elders, I came here in a rush and didn't prepare any significant gifts. Please accept these 1 million top-quality spiritual stones each as a token of my respect. I hope you don't find it too meager. The 5 ancestral elders stared blankly at the rings, utterly bewildered. Were they really holding 1 million top-quality spiritual stones in their hands? Could a Chi Activation Realm disciple genuinely own such a treasure? Seeing their frozen expressions, Luo Wuming stepped forward and seized the moment. Elders, he said slyly, haven't you been stuck at cultivation bottlenecks for decades? Here, I brought you 5 enlightenment pills. Don't ask questions, just take them, and you'll re-enter a state of enlightenment. The ancestral elders, already reeling from the spiritual stones, were hit with yet another shock. Enlightenment pills? These pills were beyond rare, and the chance to enter a state of enlightenment was priceless. They hadn't been this astonished in centuries. Meanwhile, Ifeng looked at Luo Wuming with mild frustration, thinking, Master, are you trying to steal my thunder and my wasteful spending opportunities? Luo Wuming only smirked smugly in response, as if to say, this is what you get for not selling me any pills earlier. Moments later, the 5 great ancestral elders decisively swallowed the pills. Immediately, waves of enlightenment began to radiate from them. Seeing their concentration, Luo Wuming gestured to Ifeng, let's leave them to it. About 30 minutes later, the elders awoke from their states of enlightenment. While they felt invigorated, they were just a fraction short of breaking through their bottlenecks. Determined, Luo Qianqing stepped forward and asked Ifeng directly, how many more enlightenment pills do you have? Ifeng opened his mouth to answer, but Luo Wuming quickly beat him to it. Smirking mischievously, he said, Ifeng still has quite a few left, but he plans to feed them to his dog. The entire room fell silent. The 5 great ancestral elders stared in shock. What? Feed them to a dog? Luo Qianqing stepped closer to Ifeng, his tone stern but measured. Ifeng, our ancestral teachings prohibit us from bullying the younger generation. The enlightenment pills are yours, and you may do with them as you wish. But feeding them to a dog is absolutely unacceptable. Under the intense gazes of the 5 elders, Ifeng felt his heart pounding. Feeling slightly guilty, he muttered, I still have 90 enlightenment pills left. Indeed a bit wasteful to feed them all to the dog. How about I keep 40 of them? Luo Qianqing, hearing Ifeng's attempt at compromise, sighed and suppressed his frustration. Very well, he said. That's reasonable. Turning his sharp gaze toward Luo Wuming, he continued, Sect Master, shouldn't you be controlling your disciples' wasteful tendencies? Caught off guard by the sudden shift in blame, Luo Wuming could only give a bitter smile. Great ancestral elder, you can't blame me. This kid is completely uncontrollable. He once used a 9-leaf soul-returning herb for a foot soak and fed underworld sword intent fragments to his dog. At this, Ifeng's face turned red with embarrassment. Was it really necessary for his master to expose everything? Sure enough, upon hearing these outrageous deeds, Luo Qianqing was so infuriated that he spat blood. Ifeng, feeling awkward, thought to himself, was that really necessary? Regaining his composure, Luo Qianqing tried one last time to reason with Ifeng. Please, he implored, don't feed the enlightenment pills to the dog. It would be better if you kept them for yourself. Ifeng was astonished. Why are the sects in this world so easygoing? He thought. From the novels he had read in his previous life, anyone possessing such treasures would be swarmed by enemies and reduced to ashes. Yet here, his beautiful master, who claimed she wouldn't guide him, had spent a fortune on clear, mysterious pills for him. Old Bai, who always joked about being lazy, constantly helped him with enthusiasm. Even his senior brothers and sisters, whom he had defeated during the martial platform event, seemed proud of his accomplishments. Now, the 5 great ancestral elders were treating him with kindness and reason. Reflecting on all this, Yifeng felt an unexpected sense of contentment. Smiling to himself, he decided that he would continue being a comfortable prodigal son within the sect. To express his gratitude, he handed over 70 Enlightenment pills to the sect but kept 20 for himself. At that moment, Yifeng resolved that for him to live comfortably as a spendthrift, the sect would need to grow stronger. Yifeng thought to himself, it's not such a bad idea to give a few treasures to the sect. Seeing this, Luo Chanqing's expression turned warm, and he repeated, "Good, good, good." 3 times, his tone filled with satisfaction. It's truly the sect's fortune to have such a disciple. Afterwards, Luo Chanqing gave Luo Wuming a knowing glance and said, "Luo Wuming, you're fully aware of Yifeng's contributions to the sect. As long as he doesn't violate the ancestral teachings, you have no right to punish him. Understand?" At this, Luo Wuming adopted the stance of a scolded junior, hurriedly nodding his head. "Understood," he replied, his tone respectful yet resigned. With this, Yifeng's meeting with the 5 great ancestral elders concluded. Luo Wuming, walking out with Yifeng, couldn't help but feel triumphant. Even if the great ancestral elder hadn't said anything, he mused smugly, "I wouldn't dare mistreat Yifeng. After all, I consider him my personal god of wealth." Suddenly, Yifeng, fiddling absent-mindedly with his storage ring, accidentally pulled out a golden silkworm star shining stone. The radiant mineral immediately caught the attention of the ancestral elders, who had yet to leave. Yifeng laughed sheepishly, saying, "Oh, it slipped out accidentally. It's just a broken stone, no need to mind it." Luo Wuming's face turned bright red with rage. "You rascal! Didn't you say you didn't have any star shining stones?" he roared. Pouting, Yifeng replied, "It's just a broken stone, master. Why are you making such a big deal out of this?" At that moment, the 5th great ancestral elder, Qi Yunshan, an expert artifact refiner, stepped forward, his eyes glinting with excitement. "No matter the cost, I wish to buy it," he declared, his tone practically pleading. For Qi Yunshan, the golden silkworm star shining stone was one of the most coveted materials for artifact refiners, a dream material he had sought for years. But Yifeng flatly refused. "I don't have many of these right now," he explained nonchalantly. "I need them to pave the floor of my hut's toilet." The room went silent. Luo Wuming looked as though he might vomit blood on the spot, while the other ancestral elders seemed moments away from fainting. Qi Yunshan, forcing a polite smile, asked hesitantly, "Yifeng, do you realize how crucial this star shining stone is for artifact refiners?" "I don't know about that," Yifeng replied casually, "but I do know that when I gather enough of these stones to build my toilet, it'll be magnificent. Just imagine it dazzling golden light everywhere." Luo Wuming exploded in frustration. "You're gathering more of them? Don't you know these are spirit minerals that can absorb tribulation lightning? What are you planning to do? Hide in your toilet when you face tribulation?" However, Qi Yunshan's eyes lit up as a new idea dawned on him. "Wait, you said you could obtain more star shining stones?" he asked eagerly. "Yeah," Yifeng replied with a shrug. "After I finish building my toilet, if there are any leftovers, I'll give them to you." At this, Qi Yunshan clapped his hands and exclaimed, "Good, good, good," startling everyone. His sudden enthusiasm confused not only Yifeng but also the other elders and Luo Wuming. Luo Chanqing frowned, pulling Qi Yunshan aside. "Old 5th, have you gone mad? That's the golden silkworm star shining stone, and you're okay with him using it to build a toilet?" The other elders and Luo Wuming nodded in agreement, equally baffled. Qi Yunshan waved them off. "Are you all clueless? Once Yifeng finishes building the toilet, can't we just hide in there during tribulation lightning? A single star shining stone can absorb so much. Imagine if the entire toilet is built of it. We can just squat and succeed in crossing the tribulation. Isn't that brilliant?" Luo Wuming stared at Qi Yunshan in awe. "Wait, is that actually possible? Could a toilet really replace life-saving treasures during a tribulation?" At this point, Yifeng shivered slightly, sensing that they were plotting something unsavory involving his toilet. After agreeing with Yifeng's golden toilet plan, Luo Chanqing turned to Luo Wuming and gave him strict instructions. "Ensure that God of Wealth Yifeng is safe during the upcoming Heaven's Way battlefield expedition." However, Yifeng had other ideas. "I'd prefer to go alone," he said confidently. "In the Qi activation realm, I'm practically invincible. Luo Wuming immediately tried to dissuade him. This isn't a child's game. Listen to the great ancestral elder and take some senior brothers with you for protection. Luo Chanqing considered Luo Wuming's argument, but Yifeng quickly interjected. If there are too many people, my cultivation experience will be meaningless. Finally, Luo Chanqing relented. Fine, go alone, he said, but be extremely careful and trust no one. Rest in the sect for the next 2 days. On the third day, head to the Heaven's Way battlefield teleportation tower. Yifeng nodded, satisfied. He had his reasons for wanting to go solo. Taking a large group of senior brothers to the battlefield would likely mean he'd have to protect them instead of the other way around. Besides, in case of real danger, he could always rely on his unbeatable godly wealthy guard squad. In fact, he was quite eager to see his guard squad in action. After paying his respects to the ancestral elders, Yifeng returned to his residence, where several senior brothers and sisters were waiting for him. They greeted him enthusiastically. Junior brother, do you have any more of those Enlightenment pills you gave us earlier? Yifeng noticed the gleam of excitement in their eyes. It seemed they had been deeply impressed by the effects of the Enlightenment pills, and despite the shamelessness of it, they couldn't resist asking for more. Yifeng frowned. I don't have many left, he said. I originally had 90, but I already gave 70 to the ancestral elders. Senior sister Xia Tiantian stepped forward, her tone turning sweet and coquettish. Can't you spare just one more for me? Please, junior brother? She said, adding a playful meow at the end to emphasize her plea. But Yifeng was unmoved. I really can't give any more, he said firmly. I need to keep some for my dog. Hearing this, the senior brothers and sisters were left dumbfounded. Even the great ancestral elder couldn't get the remaining pills, and here Yifeng was saving them for a dog. Sighing, the group could only give up, their expressions tinged with regret. Sensing their disappointment, Yifeng reminded them, why are you all so upset? Remember, I've already handed over 70 Enlightenment pills to the sect. As core disciples, aren't those pills reserved for you all? Upon hearing this, their spirits immediately lifted. The eldest senior brother, Chen Haoyu, thanked Yifeng profusely before rushing off with the others to claim their share. Watching them leave, Yifeng sighed and muttered, at least fix my roof before you go. Yifeng leaned back lazily, pulling out a glass of red wine. With a dramatic swirl of the glass, he mused aloud, ah, the life of a lavish prodigal, monotonous, tasteless, yet undeniably luxurious. The system, apparently surprised, chimed in. Where did you even get that wine? However, Yifeng's moment of indulgence was interrupted by a sudden realization. Hadn't received any rewards for the premium spiritual stones he had gifted the 5 great ancestral elders earlier. Feeling perplexed, he asked the system why. The system explained matter-of-factly, the ancestral elders do not plan to keep the spiritual stones. They intend to return them to you. Since the extravagant action hasn't been completed, no reward has been issued. Yifeng sighed in exasperation. Have they got rust in their brains? Who turns down money? At that moment, Luo Chanqing walked in. Yifeng, I hope I'm not disturbing your rest, he said with a polite smile. Speaking of the devil, Yifeng turned to greet him, hiding his annoyance. Ah, great ancestral elder, no disturbance at all. Without waiting for Luo Chanqing to say anything, Yifeng quickly added, great ancestral elder, please use the premium spiritual stones I gave you as you wish. Don't be shy, I have plenty more. You're not here to return them to me, are you? Luo Chanqing sighed and took out 5 storage rings. The Star Extreme sect doesn't need spiritual stones from its disciples at the moment. Our reserves are sufficient, so you should keep them. Yifeng immediately declined. While I may not know exactly how many spiritual stones the sect has in reserve, I'm confident that the total amount doesn't even come close to what I possess. If the sect ever needs spiritual stones, just ask me, I can guarantee an endless supply. Seeing Yifeng's insistence, Luo Chanqing decided to test him further. In that case, he said, narrowing his eyes, do you have any spiritual crystals? Yifeng tilted his head, puzzled. Spiritual crystals? What's that? Luo Chanqing explained patiently. Spiritual crystals are the primary source of power for the sect's protective array. Unfortunately, the sect has been running low on them lately. Obtaining spiritual crystals has become increasingly difficult in recent years, especially from the Heaven's Way battlefield. If you can provide some, it would be a great help. Yifeng's eyes lit up. Isn't this another perfect opportunity for me to be wasteful? Turning to the system, he asked, look system, how good is the Star Extreme sect to me? They're like family. So, can I give them 100 billion premium spiritual crystals? The system was momentarily stunned before replying sharply, host, are you kidding me? 100 billion spiritual crystals would power the sect for centuries. 100 million at most. Yifeng frowned and retorted, "That's not right. System, these people are like my loved ones. Shouldn't we be more generous?" The system remained unmoved. 100 million is the cap. Take it or leave it. Yifeng sighed, but he hadn't really expected the system to agree to his outrageous suggestion. At least it's not completely heartless, he thought, deciding to settle for the 100 million spiritual crystals the system approved. The system promptly dispatched 100 million top-grade spiritual crystals into Yifeng's storage ring. Meanwhile, Luo Chanqing had no idea what Yifeng was up to. He didn't believe Yifeng could possibly produce spiritual crystals, as they were exclusive to the Heaven's Way battlefield. Preparing to leave, Luo Chanqing said, "Well, if you can't provide spiritual crystals, I won't bother you further." However, Yifeng stopped him. "Wait, great ancestral elder. I have 100 million top-grade spiritual crystals here." Luo Chanqing froze. His face twisted into a mix of shock and disbelief as he stared at Yifeng. "What did you just say?" "I have 100 million top-grade spiritual crystals," Yifeng repeated casually. Luo Chanqing began to doubt his own sanity. "Am I hallucinating? How could a mere Qi activation realm disciple possess such a vast number of spiritual crystals? Even if the entire Star Extreme sect were sold off, they wouldn't be able to amass such wealth." To confirm, Luo Chanqing probed Yifeng's storage ring with his spiritual sense. What he saw left him utterly flabbergasted. The ring was filled to the brim with countless top-grade spiritual crystals, stacked neatly like mountains. Even with his years of experience, Luo Chanqing couldn't maintain his composure. "This ring alone," he murmured, his voice trembling. "Its value surpasses that of the entire sect by an unimaginable margin." Yifeng smirked, noting the elder's stunned expression. "Truly, no one can resist the allure of immense wealth," he thought smugly. Finally regaining his voice, Luo Chanqing stammered, "Yifeng, are you sure you want to hand over these spiritual crystals to the sect?" "Of course," Yifeng replied cheerfully. "But I suggest the sect keep the protective array active at all times. Whenever you run out of spiritual crystals, just ask me for more." Luo Chanqing was nearly driven to madness by Yifeng's casual extravagance. "Absolutely not. These premium spiritual crystals are far too precious. Unless the sect is facing a life-or-death crisis, we can't waste them like this." Yifeng rolled his eyes. "Great ancestral elder, you're thinking too small. A mere 100 million crystals are just a drop in the bucket for me. If I can produce 100 million now, I can produce even more in the future. Just use them without worry." Luo Chanqing stared at Yifeng, completely overwhelmed. "You're serious? You really have more?" "Absolutely," Yifeng replied confidently. "The sect can use them as they see fit." Faced with such audacity, Luo Chanqing made the boldest decision of his life. From that day onward, the 9-star sword formation, the Star Extreme Sect's protective array, would remain permanently active. Hearing this, Yifeng was momentarily stunned. "Wait, the sect's protective array is the 9-star sword formation?" Curious, he pulled out the reward he had just received. The enhanced 9-star sword formation secret manual. "Great ancestral elder, take a look at this." Luo Chanqing took the manual and examined it closely. The more he read, the more astonished he became. This is the 9-star sword formation, but it's an enhanced version. Its power is 10 times stronger, though the consumption is also 10 times greater. Luo Chanqing looked at Yifeng with wide eyes. "Yifeng, where did you get this?" Yifeng waved him off. "Great ancestral elder, don't ask. If you do, the answer will still be the same. I don't know." Yifeng understood the great ancestral elder would naturally inquire about the origins of his treasures, but since he couldn't provide an explanation, he chose to divert the discussion altogether. Sensing Yifeng's evasion, Luo Chanqing refrained from pressing further. Instead, he solemnly pulled out an honorary elder token and declared, "From now on, you are an honorary elder of the Star Extreme sect." Yifeng was baffled. "Why am I suddenly an honorary elder?" The great ancestral elder calmly replied, "Not just that, you'll now stand as an equal to the 5 great ancestral elders. Even Luo Wuming must address you as Elder Yi whenever he sees you." Although the idea of outranking his own master amused Yifeng, he quickly declined the position. He didn't desire such a high-ranking status, knowing it would come with great responsibilities. His sole aim was a carefree life of extravagance. Moreover, he was Luo Chinchua's senior disciple. Accepting this title would make it awkward to face her. However, Luo Chanqing remained resolute. "Without granting you this status, how can the sect justify your contributions? Don't worry, only the 5 great ancestral elders and Luo Wuming will know of this title. It won't affect your daily life." Seeing the elder's determination, Yifeng relented but made his stance clear. Apart from providing resources, I won't involve myself in sect matters. Satisfied with his response, Luo Chanqing nodded. At that moment, Luo Wuming arrived, noticing the great ancestral elder's presence. Elder, I was planning to take Yifeng to visit the Beast Peak Dash. Before he could finish, Luo Chanqing interrupted angrily. Is Yifeng someone you can address so casually? From today onward, address him as Elder Yi. He is now an honorary elder of the Star Extreme Sect, holding a rank equivalent to the 5 great ancestral elders. Next time, old man, show proper respect when addressing him. Luo Wuming, caught completely off guard, could only nod repeatedly, though he cast a questioning glance at Luo Chanqing. How did Yifeng suddenly become an honorary elder? With a deadpan expression, Luo Chanqing explained, his contributions to the sect are immense. Even making him an honorary elder feels insufficient. Luo Wuming smirked knowingly and turned to Yifeng. Contributions, huh? Elder Yi, why don't you tell me how much did you spend to buy this title? Yifeng awkwardly replied, Master, perhaps you shouldn't call me elder. And as for the cost, well, it's 100 million top-grade spiritual crystals and the enhanced version of the 9-star sword formation secret manual. Hearing this, Luo Wuming was momentarily stunned. If that's the case, indeed, just making you an honorary elder feels like an insult. Not wanting the topic to drag on, Yifeng quickly shifted the conversation. Master, didn't you mention the Beast Peak? Let's go check it out. Meanwhile, back in the rear mountain, Luo Chanqing returned to his cave mansion, where the other ancestral elders were already waiting for him. They immediately asked, Big brother, did you return the spiritual stones? We can't afford to accept such an offering. Luo Chanqing sighed and shook his head. The others were baffled. Why didn't you return them? Have you lost your senses? It's not like we're short on spiritual stones. Sighing again, Luo Chanqing said helplessly, Not only did I not return them, but I also took additional benefits from Yifeng. Before the others could rebuke him, he reached into his storage and pulled out a ring, placing it on the table. Qi Yunshan, the 5th ancestral elder, frowned. Just how many spiritual stones are in that ring, big brother? With a deep sigh, Luo Chanqing corrected him. It's not spiritual stones, it's 100 million top-grade spiritual crystals. The 4th ancestral elder, Qing Xingfei, shakily picked up the ring. 100 million top-grade spiritual crystals. Just casually sitting here? She couldn't believe her eyes. All 4 ancestral elders were stunned. Qi Yunshan's eyes widened, and he exclaimed, With 100 million top-grade spiritual crystals, the Star Extreme Sect could thrive without financial worries for centuries. However, Luo Chanqing added gravely, From today onward, the sect's protective formation will remain permanently active. The elders were flabbergasted. What, brother? Have you lost your mind? Is there some powerful sect plotting against us? Luo Chanqing sighed and imitated Yifeng's tone. You're all thinking too small. It's just a measly 100 million. If we use them up, we'll just get more. The ancestral elders were left unsettled. How did this brat manage to make us feel like paupers in just one day? Luo Chanqing then pulled out the enhanced 9-star sword formation manual Yifeng had gifted them. This is another benefit from Yifeng. Consumption and power are both increased tenfold. Even if someone at the peak of the 9th Tribulation Crossing realm attacks us, they'll either die or be severely injured. The elders were stunned into silence once more. At the Beast Peak, Luo Wuming was introducing Yifeng to the site. Inside these sealed caves are beasts of varying strengths. The further up the peak you go, the stronger the beasts. Each beast is kept sealed for a reason. Puzzled, Yifeng asked, Why seal them? Why not just kill them outright? Luo Wuming explained, These beasts serve as life and death trials for our disciples. If disciples wish to leave the sect, they must first challenge these beasts. If they can't even defeat them, they'll be doomed in the outside world. Here, at least, they have a chance of survival. Hearing this, Yifeng grew eager. I'm heading to the Heaven's Way battlefield in a couple of days. Why not let me try one now as a warm-up? However, Luo Wuming immediately declined. These beasts are reserved for other disciples. With your strength, even a few hundred beasts of the same realm would be no challenge for you. It'd be a waste. Not giving up, Yifeng persisted. Then let me challenge a higher-ranked beast, maybe one from the merging spirit realm? Pretending not to hear him, Luo Wuming changed the subject. The weather's nice today, isn't it? Yifeng sighed. It seems Master's father won't pay attention to me anymore. At this point, Yifeng's prodigal points stood at 2,810. He realized he needed to make a significant move soon. A day had passed since his visit to the Beast Peak. Today, Yifeng had acquired the corpse of a purple thunder mad lion, a beast of immense power. Unsure of its exact ranking or how to process its body, he decided to consult his senior brother, Chun Haoyu. Senior brother, how should I handle this beast's body? Ifeng asked. Chun Haoyu explained patiently, you can extract its essence blood using spiritual energy. The essence blood is extremely valuable, but it's only beneficial for those who practice body cultivation. Ifeng tilted his head. What exactly is body cultivation? Body cultivators refine their physical bodies through techniques that absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Chun Haoyu elaborated. Their combat power is terrifying, and the essence blood of powerful beasts like this one is their best cultivation resource. Curious, Ifeng raised another question. What if we just roast the beast and eat it? Chun Haoyu froze, staring at Ifeng with a baffled expression. Junior brother, where do you come up with these ideas? He asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. Despite his confusion, Chun Haoyu clarified, for lower realm beasts, roasting and eating them is fine, but for high-ranking beasts like this, directly consuming the flesh would be wasteful. You'd absorb less than 1% of the essence blood's power without proper extraction. Do we have any body cultivators in our sect? Ifeng asked, genuinely curious. Yes, Chun Haoyu nodded. The fifth ancestral elder, Chuyun Chan, is one. She's a body cultivator at the Tribulation Crossing realm. Just as Chun Haoyu prepared to launch into a lengthy story about Elder Chuyun Chan's past, Ifeng turned and walked away, uninterested in listening further. Watching him leave, Chun Haoyu furrowed his brows, wondering if Ifeng truly had the body of such a high-level beast and if he was actually planning to roast it. Ifeng headed straight to the dueling arena, drawing the attention of the surrounding disciples. Many assumed he was there to challenge them again, and some immediately lay down in surrender, convinced they couldn't defeat him. However, Ifeng had other plans. He leaped onto the stage and declared, let's not duel today. Instead, help me slice some meat. I'll treat you all to a barbecue. Under the astonished eyes of the crowd, Ifeng retrieved the massive purple thunder mad lion's corpse from his storage ring. The beast's immense size and weight shattered the newly repaired arena floor upon impact, leaving everyone dumbfounded. Standing atop the massive carcass, Ifeng called out, Dear senior brothers and sisters, please help me slice this beast. I can't handle it alone. The disciples, thrilled by the idea of a barbecue, eagerly approached. However, they quickly encountered a problem. The purple thunder mad lion's hide was so tough that their weapons couldn't even scratch it. Worse, some of their weapons shattered upon contact, leaving the disciples distraught and mourning their broken tools. Seeing the predicament, Ifeng turned to his system for assistance. The system temporarily lent him a set of 100 daggers. However, upon seeing the rusty, battered daggers, Ifeng raised an eyebrow, doubting the system's intentions. Can these really cut through? He wondered, skeptical. With no other choice, he handed the daggers to the disciples. Stop your attempts, use these daggers instead. The disciples hesitated, staring at the shabby weapons. Will these actually work? They muttered among themselves. But when one disciple tried using the dagger, the tough scales of the purple thunder mad lion sliced apart as easily as tofu. The crowd gasped in astonishment at the dagger's terrifying efficiency. Finally, Ifeng smiled in satisfaction. However, he soon noticed one of the disciples testing the dagger on their own arm. Focus on the beast, not yourself, Ifeng scolded, exasperated. Still, he had to admit that the daggers were deceptively powerful. If only I could squander points on these daggers, he thought wistfully. The system, however, shattered his hopes, reminding him that the daggers were merely on loan. If he failed to return them, a significant number of his spendthrift points would be deducted. This system is so stingy, Ifeng muttered under his breath. He resigned himself to collecting the daggers once the feast was over. With the daggers in hand, the disciples swiftly dissected the purple thunder mad lion, turning its flesh into manageable portions. Soon, the meat was roasting over open flames, filling the air with a tantalizing aroma. The disciples gathered around the bonfire, savoring the delicacy. After all, this was high-grade monster meat, a treat most of them could only dream of tasting. Meanwhile, about 10 miles away from the Star Extreme Sect, a muscular figure broke through the air. This was Luo Kai, a man boasting 8-pack abs and an imposing presence. As he approached, he murmured, Luo Wuming, I'm here. It seemed the two were old acquaintances. However, upon noticing the active 9-star sword formation around the sect, Luo Kai frowned in confusion. Is the Star Extreme Sect under attack? He wondered aloud. Yet, there was no sign of danger. Shrugging off his doubts, Luo Kai decided to test the formation's strength. Assuming it was the same as before, But as he charged at it, he was met with an unexpected result. The formation's enhanced power flung him backward, leaving him utterly dumbfounded. "What the hell?" Luo Kai exclaimed, staring at the barrier in disbelief. Who upgraded the 9-star sword formation to this level? At that moment, Luo Wuming flew out from the sect, his expression exasperated. "Luo Kai, have you lost your mind? Can't you see the protective barrier is active? Why are you challenging it head-on?" Luo Kai scowled. "I came to see you. Who knew your 9-star sword formation had improved so much?" Wuming smirked. "Stop talking nonsense and tell me why you're here." Crossing his arms, Luo Kai finally revealed his purpose. "I've come to show off. This time, I struck it big in the Heavenly Dao battlefield. I managed to collect a whopping 80 top-grade spiritual crystals." Luo Wuming raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "Is that all? I'm leaving." Luo Kai was stunned. "What kind of reaction is that? Shouldn't you be begging me for some crystals? Is there a powerful enemy attacking? And who improved the sword formation to such a terrifying level?" Luo Kai demanded, his face a mix of confusion and concern. Luo Wuming casually replied, "Oh, it's nothing serious. Recently, we've had too many spiritual crystals lying around, so we decided to burn through some of our stock. You should have felt the power of the formation though. Even though its consumption has increased tenfold, my Star Extreme sect can afford it." Hearing this, Luo Kai's expression darkened as he exclaimed angrily, "You're showing off. How many spiritual crystals do you even have now? You just upgraded a defensive formation, and now you're acting so smug." Luo Wuming smiled faintly, his voice laced with mock humility. "Not that many, just about 100 million. It should last us a few months." Luo Kai's jaw dropped. He tried to appear calm, replying nonchalantly, "Oh, nothing much to say. I just came to have a drink and chat with you." But inside he was shaken. 100 million. Luo Wuming had never lied to him about matters like this, which meant it had to be true. 100 million spiritual crystals was a staggering fortune. Later, as Luo Kai followed Luo Wuming, still trying to process this information, a mouth-watering aroma wafted through the air. Luo Kai froze, his nose twitching. His expression changed dramatically as he muttered, "That smell. It can't be." Without warning, he bolted toward the source of the aroma like a man possessed. When he arrived, the scene before him left him completely stunned. A group of Star Extreme sect disciples was feasting around a massive bonfire. And the centerpiece of their feast? The roasted flesh of a purple thunder mad lion. "It really is the purple thunder mad lion," Luo Kai blurted out, unable to believe his eyes. This beast had survived 9 thunder tribulations, making it a creature on the brink of ascending to the upper realms. Yet here it was, roasted and served as a delicacy for disciples to enjoy. Luo Wuming, who had followed behind, was just as surprised. It survived 9 thunder tribulations, and now it's being roasted and eaten like common game? He murmured. Luo Kai grabbed Luo Wuming's arm, demanding an explanation. "Your disciples are roasting and eating the flesh of such a terrifying beast. When did the Star Extreme sect become so wealthy?" With a helpless sigh, Luo Wuming replied, "We're not rich at all. This is definitely that prodigal Yifeng's doing." Before Luo Kai could press further, something else caught his eye, something that made his heart skip a beat. One of the disciples, only at the Qi activation realm, was wielding what appeared to be a simple black dagger. Yet, with that dagger, he effortlessly sliced through the purple thunder mad lion's impenetrable scales as if they were nothing but tofu. Luo Kai's shock deepened. First, they're casually roasting a purple thunder mad lion, and now that. What kind of divine weapon is that dagger? Luo Kai turned to Luo Wuming, disbelief written all over his face. "Old friend, your sect feels so unfamiliar to me now." Luo Wuming was equally baffled. He had no idea what was going on either. Determined to get answers, he quickly sent a voice transmission to the 5 ancestral elders. "Come quickly, that Yifeng kid is squandering resources again. This time, it's the corpse of a purple thunder mad lion that survived 9 thunder tribulations. He's roasting it for the disciples to eat. If you don't come now, it'll all be gone." Luo Kai, overhearing this, asked in confusion, "Who's Yifeng? And why do you need the 5 ancestral elders? Can't you just deal with him yourself?" Luo Wuming sighed heavily. "I wish I could, but I can't. Yifeng isn't just the 6th core disciple of the sect. He's contributed 100 million top-grade spiritual crystals and even enhanced the 9-star sword formation. On top of that, he's now an honorary elder of the Star Extreme sect. Even I have to address him as Elder Yi." Luo Kai's jaw dropped. An honorary elder? A Qi activation realm disciple? What kind of monster was this Yifeng? Meanwhile, in the back mountain, Chuyunshan, the fifth ancestral elder and a body cultivator, overheard the news. Enraged, he roared, "Do you have any idea how important a beast that survived 9 thunder tribulations is to me?" Without hesitation, he stormed toward the scene, but the other ancestral elders managed to stop him in time. "Impulsiveness is the devil," advised Luo Chanqing, the great ancestral elder. "Old Fifth, isn't it obvious? Such a high-level beast corpse is naturally important, especially for a body cultivator like you. It's probably even more valuable than an enlightenment pill." Chuyunshan, his frustration boiling over, lamented. "This is the only such beast corpse we've ever had in the sect, and half of it has already been roasted and eaten by the inner and outer disciples." The other ancestral elders shared his heartache. "No wonder Old Fifth is so upset," one muttered. "If it were us, we'd feel the same way." Luo Chanqing, however, took a different approach. "Let's go over and have a taste ourselves. Better to eat some than none at all." Moments later, Luo Wuming and Luo Kai were already feasting at the dueling ground, competing to see who could eat faster. Upon seeing this, the arriving ancestral elders were speechless. "These two old geezers have even less shame than we do," one remarked. In the end, Luo Kai, being a body cultivator, easily outpaced Luo Wuming in their eating contest, earning cheers from the surrounding disciples. When the ancestral elders approached, they greeted Yifeng with mock indignation. "Yifeng, why didn't you invite us old geezers to join the feast?" Yifeng smiled politely. "How could I not? If the ancestral elders are interested, please join us." Luo Kai couldn't help but tease the elders. "How can such old geezers be so overlooked? No wonder they're complaining." And so, the ancestral elders joined the feast, relishing the rare delicacy. Chuyunshan even expressed interest in taking the purple thunder mad lion skeleton, offering to clean it up for the sect. Seeing someone willing to handle the cleanup, Yifeng was naturally pleased. After the meal, Luo Wuming introduced his old friend Luo Kai to Yifeng, though Luo Kai was already in awe of the prodigal disciple who had managed to append his understanding of the Star Extreme sect in a single day. Thanks for watching, guys. Comment Flamingo and subscribe for the next part.